Well, welcome to the Graveyard Shift, and the purpose of this podcast is to provide you with ideas and inspiration on improving your funeral home's operations and connecting your business with more families. And again, our podcast here is brought to you by our friends at Passari. So my name is Todd Carlson. I'm the Chief Sales Officer with Directors Investment Group and our family of companies that include Passari, Funeral Directors Life, and ClaimCheck. And amazingly, and I can't believe it, but the cast comes back and they bring friends. And
friends.
Well, it's a kind of a...
I hope so.
50-50.
I've tried to be. I put in all the effort.
Well, that I believe. Yeah. So, but
It's be nice to see it reciprocated every once in a while. But
one birthday card, just one birthday card.
Anything, a token of anything would be appreciated. But okay, never mind.
Well,
Go ahead.
John, as my gift to you, I'll introduce you as John Horan.
John who?
John Horan.
Never heard of him.
Here it goes.
Yes, here it
Off we
starts.
go.
He manufactures small craft urns.
Awesome. Well, hey, just to kind of get through the routine here, this is Matt Bailey. No, this isn't. That's Matt Bailey. He's sitting to my right if you're viewing. And he's from Bailey Family Funeral Homes in Connecticut. We got Jimmy Lucas back from Fort Worth, Texas, God's country, as he likes to call it. And then we've got Gary Freitag all the way from Cincinnati with us here, too. And then John Horan from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. So, John, welcome.
Thank you.
And we are so glad you were here.
I'm honored to be here. And I would like to point out that I am a very proud and pleased Passari user.
That's how you got on this show.
For the funeral homes that I have in Kentucky and Indiana.
Awesome.
We're thrilled with it.
Well, John, you must be under the impression that we're still paying the dollar every time you mention the word Passari in this podcast.
Passari? you pay $1 every time I say Passari?
No,
what is it about Passari?
It's a mistaken impression that you have. So,
okay.
All right. No, that's.
Deal.
But thank you for.
Deal. I still expect to get paid because
John knows this group really well. This is going to be a dangerous podcast.
Yes, it is.
I kind of feel like I'm about ready to step on the high wire without a net.
He's on a fixed income.
Yes. But John, thank you for having us. And also, I just want to let our listeners know that you were invited to share your thoughts, your feedback, and in the rare case we make sense, throw us a compliment. Right, and but also we want all of your feedback, good and the bad and the ugly, and send that over to the Graveyard Shift at Passari.com, and that's the Graveyard Shift at Passari.com. And if you've got complaints, John, thanks for stepping up and taking complaints this week. So,
okay, that's part of the deal.
Yeah, we'll flash your cell phone number under the video.
Go ahead.
Actually, I have that now. I should get that out to everyone.
Yeah.
But the show here, we're talking about this. One thing that I've come to learn over my 35 plus years in funeral service, I think it's harder today than it ever has been to be a funeral director.
Amen, brother.
And
Amen.
it's not getting easier. So we're hoping some of this content today, or maybe even all of it, if we're lucky, will be helpful to our listeners and our viewers to help them be more effective in their role at the funeral home. And again, if you've listened to this and you think you benefited or you have a friend that would benefit from this, subscribe, share on your favorite podcast platform. So again, John, a few years ago, actually you spent a career building a business in Denver.
I did.
And then you had a successful acquisition, a succession plan for your business, and you exited ownership for a brief moment of time and founded the Funeral Excellence Group after that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
My family sold the legacy funeral home business that had been my family since 1890, and the group that bought it was a group that I just knew I couldn't work for. And I was 28 years old and figured, I'll find something else to do. I eventually convinced a very nice man named Joe McConaty to sell me his little declining business. Had been declining year after year after year for 6 years prior to me buying it in Denver, and saw that as an opportunity to get started again. And then that sort of afforded me the opportunity to use that as a base and continue to build. And ultimately, we built out 11 locations to serve about 4,000 families and multi-ethnic brands, focusing on different segments of the community that we could be relevant toward. And then I reached a point where I realized I have no successors. I mean, there's no one here to follow me. And I had partners, and as I was 62, 63 at the time, and I said to both my partners, Darren Forbes and Jennifer McBride, I've discovered that I enjoy reading fiction. Not just business books. I enjoy skiing, scuba diving, traveling, and frankly, I'm getting a little tired of you pointed this out at the beginning of the podcast. I'm getting a little tired of regulatory and personnel issues that were just. I felt like I was spending a disproportionate amount of my time doing the kinds of things that I just don't like to do, administrative kinds of things. I love funeral directing. I absolutely love organizing a funeral. Now I bill myself in the company as the best co-director they ever had. I mean, honestly, I carry flowers. I love doing it all. But it reached that point, and neither Jennifer or Darren wanted to acquire the company. They both saw the tremendous amount of debt that would be involved, and neither were at a point where they thought that was a good idea. And we began to sort of consider, well, what next?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's what we hope to unpack today, is how that journey went, and get some advice that maybe you and this panel can provide to some of our listeners who might be facing, trying to figure out what to do as their business transfers to the next generation of ownership. So thanks. But John, I just remember, our paths really crossed while serving on the board of directors at Passari.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, by the way, for all those years of service. You and the early people into that group, Matt, Gary and Jimmy, others, those first through the wall, those were uncertain times, and you guys, really worked hard to keep that together, and now look where it's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said to Chris Seal recently, Passari would not exist if the Directors Investment Group didn't step up and take responsibility for it. We realized, those of us that were involved in the initial formation of it, that it was going to require a whole lot more money than we were putting into it to be able to make this all that it needed to be. And Chris, you, the team at Directors Investment Group, they believed in it. They saw the future in it, and they saw the need for it. Heaven knows there was a great need, and continues to be a great need for it. And it's absolutely thrilling for me to see how Passari has filled out and continues to evolve. I mean, it seems like every month, because now I have these 10 funeral homes in Indiana and Kentucky, which I didn't necessarily intend to have, but anyway, I have them.
That's more than before, right?
Yeah, more than before.
You really know how to retire.
Yeah, I'm very, very bad at
His commute
retirement.
got longer, too.
I'm a failure when it comes to retirement.
How's that skiing going?
It's not going
like
well.
scuba
Not well at all. And every month I get an email. Here are updates to Passari. Here are new things. We've listened to you. We've made these enhancements. The management reporting is really important to me, especially when I'm in Denver and I'm trying to figure out what's going on in northern Kentucky and southern Indiana. And it's done that for me. It's been a great ride.
Yeah, well, thanks. Appreciate that. Hey, one thing I was thinking about here, because you've listened to the podcast and you shared that with me. So why in the heck did you agree to appear on this podcast?
Well, because
He's never listened to this podcast. He thought he was getting $100 every time.
Sorry.
these three guys told me I was getting paid $1,000.
Well, that looks like it's $333.33 a piece they'll be shelling out. So.
How about a glass of wine?
Where's my money?
Pesos, John. 1,000 pesos.
It was pesos?
It was pesos.
Oh. You know what? My hearing is not good, so I take that upon myself. Thank you. But you know what? I love these three guys, and they're like brothers to me.
Love you too, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you continue to do for funeral service. You've helped me personally along the way a lot.
You know what? It's nothing but a privilege.
That's true.
I have I subscribe to John Maxwell's book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, there's one that stands out for me, and it's the law of the inner circle. And it's about your potential is determined by the people that you have around you, that you're closest to. And for some strange reason, I got that from the beginning of my career. And I know I see the way you're pushing him. And honestly, I'm out.
Yeah, Jimmy's out of the circle.
Matt's trying to push Jimmy out of the circle. And but I've surrounded myself. In some ways, it didn't feel deliberate in the beginning. It feels more deliberate now, with people that I know, I trust, I admire, I respect, and Amen. I know I can count on them if I have an issue or a question, a problem, and I'd like to think that you all think that you can count on me for the same.
Absolutely.
And Todd, we go back a long way too, you know, and you and Chris Seal and the team at Directors Investment Group. So obviously it felt very comfortable for me to be here, even though I figured it was going to be partly a roast. So.
Well, we have a long ways to go yet.
You haven't watched the podcast. You take that out that was appropriate.
Right.
All right. Well, John, kind of turning our attention here to succession planning. You probably had a moment in your career, but what cues should owners listen to that might tell them maybe when it might be time to consider selling their business?
Yeah. When you get up in the morning and you can think of just about anything that you would rather do than go to work that day. Mm-hmm. But as I've heard some smart guys in this group say, our job as owners is to show up every day and act like this is the best day ever. And that's the face that I have to put on, and challenges that we're facing, that kind of a thing. That's not what people need to hear. They need strong leadership who is going toward the future and is excited about going toward the future. And I felt like I was struggling with that a little bit. And I could do it, but I just felt like, in some ways, at times it sort of felt a little inauthentic. So for me, it just felt like it was the right time to make that change. And I'm reasonably ambulatory. I enjoy things like scuba diving and skiing and cycling and active pursuits that were increasingly difficult for me to be able to devote the time to that I enjoyed. So the time was right.
Yeah. So if that passion starts to fade, maybe it's time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. What would the panel say to that? Anything that you, as you talk to your colleagues and your people you respect in the business, what do you hear? What do you think you might hear when that time comes for you?
Well, I couldn't agree with John more. And I've sold a family business, not in this profession. And when you dread going to work and have to, as you said, put on a face, mm-hmm. that's the biggest signal. In terms of timing, you can look at what's going on within, how active the M&A market is, because that's going to help determine what the ultimate payout is going to be. I mean, that's kind of the math behind it. Sometimes you have to hang on for a couple of years because the M&A activity is quiet and the multiples and whatever, the interest level goes down or the number of buyers goes down. All of those are going to drive down what you ultimately recoup from the investment. But the most important thing is your individual, how you feel about going to work and putting on that face. And if you're not enjoying it anymore, that's the biggest red flag.
Life's
for me.
too short.
It is.
Yeah.
As we all know.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, one thing about this panel, which I really appreciate today, is that you've all had experience buying funeral homes, right, and for your businesses. So one thing to think about there is, as the buyer, what are some things that you think sellers ought to be thinking about when they start prepping their business for sale?
I would start with, first of all, using a Covey principle, Stephen Covey principle, to begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. What is it that you want to accomplish here? Do you see yourself continuing on, perhaps in the same role, except you just don't own it? Do you see yourself maybe going forward in a part-time role? What about if there are partners involved, how do they feel about it? And so I would begin there with where do I see this going? And then I would consider getting representation, right? I mean, Johnson Consulting, Foresight Consultants. I used my former Chief Financial Officer, John Schmitz, to organize my deal, and I know John's organized deals for people around the country. But whoever you use should really prepare you for what this is going to be like, right? They're going to go through your financial statements. They're going to, is it okay to say put lipstick on the pig? Do I?
Depends on the pig.
You know, I mean, because all of us have things on our financial statements that you go, we could live without that, probably. And those kinds of things, then you want to clean that up. You want to show that, yes, you can live without that, and as a result, it makes my bottom line look better. And if my bottom line looks better, then I can get paid more for this business, right?
And we see a lot of, you guys maybe see this as you've looked at family businesses as an acquirer, is funeral directors kind of live out of their business, I think is the term. And what is the end result? You know, how do you what's your recommendation on that?
I've seen that so many times, and you really have to take it apart. And in office, you'd be amazed what I found in office supplies. You go, Costco bills, for, and you go, really, we're taking all that stuff back to the funeral home, huh?
Yeah. Don't you buy your briskets at Costco, Jimmy?
I'm just saying. I feel like I need to sharpen my pencil. Just meals and entertainment. I'm not overly creative.
I apologize, Jimmy. I hope I haven't outed you here. I hope with the IRS isn't listening to this podcast. But you're right, and so an expert can come in and help you recast this and say to a prospective buyer, it looks. We can make this look a lot better, and that's ultimately going to help you sell it for more.
Yeah.
Proper representation will also help you to understand who's my ideal buyer for this business. Is it SCI? Is it Park Lawn? Is it Carriage?
Or your key employee.
Exactly.
Or a key employee, or maybe a regional acquisition group. If somebody's listening to this in Northern Kentucky or Southern Indiana,
Boy, if I got a deal for you.
My cell phone number is.
But he gives away his own. So that's how we tricked him into giving away his own cell phone number for the complaints department. That was wonderful.
Right.
This is turning into a Ron Popeil commercial for John's businesses. But wait, there's more.
Not everybody's business is going to be perfect in the eyes of a potential acquisition or person that would or a company that would acquire it. So, somebody who knows how this works, being represented properly, could really help kind of direct this to those that are the most likely to be interested in that kind of a business.
When you decided to sell finally, mentally, did you feel relief when you really wrapped your mind around this is what you were going to do?
I felt relief.
Harder?
Jimmy, I felt complete relief, and I have to tell you, it's been my experience that when somebody crosses that line of saying, I'm ready to sell.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody turn around and go back. Once they may not cross it right then, but clearly
that's where they're headed.
This is where they're headed, right? Because it takes a ton, especially in a business like this, where it's more than a business to us. I mean, this is a vocation, right? And I mean, how many people get the opportunity to do what we do and go home and feel like every day I made an important difference in somebody's life, right? It's like a drug, and it's hard to give it up.
Yeah.
And from a seller's perspective, it has to be taken into account. It has to be considered, because once you don't have that drug of feeling like I'm relevant to my community, I'm making important differences in people's lives, where are you deriving meaning in your life? Where's that coming from? And somebody needs to think that through before they sell. Is where do they see themselves on the other side of that sale? What are they going to be doing?
Yeah.
And what was it like going from the buck stops with you? You're the guy in the commercial. Your name is on the sign.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, you have the call, and then you're sitting watching the obit pages or something, or you're talking to former teammates, and
Yeah.
it's a different company, or they made a major change.
Yeah.
And you just sit and does it take your breath away? Do you not care? Do you say
No,
it is
I
what
care.
it is? I mean,
I care, John. Believe me, I care. And you know, that's a great question, Matt, because anybody who thinks that you can build a successful business and that becomes a part of your, and you can just turn it off the day you walk out that door, you can just, you know, turn the key and you're gone and never look back. Well, it's not me. And I think it probably describes most people in our field who are probably feelers, you know, more than they're thinkers or intuitors or sensors. And it was hard for me. It really was. But it was important for me to sell to a company that would honor our people and our culture. And I was lucky enough to identify, for me, that was Park Lawn. And for somebody else, it could be SCI. For somebody else, it could be Carriage. For somebody else, it could be Foundation Partners or you know, one of the regional acquisition groups. But for me, it was Park Lawn because they made a commitment to keeping. And in fact, I sold this as part of the value of the company was that I had built a very strong leadership team. I mean, we had invested in leadership. We had invested in the right people to be invested in leadership. And so throughout the company, I said to Park Lawn, you're not just getting the company, you're getting a bright future. I'm telling you, there are bright people here who are turned on and excited about what they do every day and about the future. And thankfully, not on everything, but really on important things, they make me a part of things. Darren Forbes still kind of runs the Western region, and Darren's like a brother to me. I love that man. And
is that in your contract to say that?
No. And as our mutual friend Mark Pitkin in Denver would say, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Jimmy's just jealous. Todd, just one point on that. We've been on the acquiring side and mostly very small funeral homes, much lower scale than what John has done. And one of the things we've tried to do is try to match what the owner wants to do going forward. And we've had everything from I am totally burned out, here's the keys, I'm heading to my farm and I don't ever want to think about this again. Most of them, though, because they're feelers and because they've been serving in the community and they know these families, they want to be involved. And what we try to balance is, okay, how do we meet that need without injecting too much frustration? Because if it's a small, let's just say it's a 2 or 3 person firm, when we come in and purchase them, we're going to change all the processes and procedures, right? Which can be very frustrating for the prior owner. So we've done deals where we pay the owner an ongoing fee just to be there to greet the family. They can sit in the arrangement room if they want to, but they're not doing the arrangement because they're not going to follow our processes. In fact, they're trying to train somebody that's typically at the end of their careers to move into something that's much more technologically advanced. And we've had a lot of success with that. I think the first acquisition we did is the best one I've ever done in any profession. We bought it in 2012 with a 5-year non-compete payout and then some additional ongoing payments that basically helped the husband and wife that were running it get to where they could get health insurance because they were only 61. We are still making those payments today because they've been such great partners that we just keep paying them that same amount every month, and they live next door. So every time it's a family they know, they show up. The wife doesn't do funerals anymore. She comes over and does the landscaping.
Wow.
Just because it gives her something to do.
Love it.
So that has been, and they come to our employee acknowledgement meetings and the employee, like the holiday party. They show up at all those employee events because they really feel like they're part of the company. They're not employees, but it was such a good experience for them that one worked out as well as you can possibly have it happen, because they're thrilled and we're thrilled with what they continue to do and the way they continue to act and build the business. They believe in their funeral home going forward, but they believe that Spring Grove's a good fit for, and will take care of those families well.
Yeah. No, that's great. We're just going to pause for a second, remind our listeners this is sponsored by Passari. And
Passari.
Sorry. Yeah. So, ka-ching. So,
Did you say Passari?
I did.
Sorry, Infinity. Does that work?
And also to remind our listeners that we love your feedback, and that can be emailed over to the graveyardshift@passari.com. And gosh, this is kind of changing the vibe here, but but I got to get our listeners a reminder we'd love to hear from them. We've got a great following out there, and we want to share this stuff with them. So,
Also from Connecticut, Matt Bailey. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yes,
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
So, John, one thing I was going to ask, though, is in that preparation process for you personally, so you've kind of, went through this, what was the most unexpected thing that happened?
The amount of paperwork.
Yeah, no kidding.
Honestly, we created different the crematory was crematories were in an LLC. The
Real estate.
The real estate was in a different LLC. We created different trusts, and it was just complicated. And maybe the lawyers fudged on some of their fees, but I'm telling you, it was an expensive process for us to close because there was so much lawyering involved with the conclusions. So I hope John Schmitz listens to this, because John was an absolute hero to me. I mean, he stuck with us through after the sale to help close all the loose ends that were still open. And but that to me was the most complicated part. I didn't expect it to be, and maybe it was. Look, we're a larger firm. It would be less complicated if I just owned everything under one banner and I didn't have partners and all that kind of thing. But as it was, it came with the territory. No big deal.
Did you guys forget anything and you had to go back and redo it?
Yes.
I recently had the opportunity to acquire my dad's shares, and we get all done. We had left a cemetery out and a location out. Oops. I fixed that.
He's like, that price just went up.
Yeah. Oh, you wanted to buy that too?
A multiple of 30.
Well, that's the most valuable.
That cemetery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was his way of explaining to his son the value of preparation. Yeah, so. All right. Well, that's good. So, how about some tips in the negotiation process?
Be represented. Okay. We got to a point where we had 3 solid offers. I only asked for offers from 3 of the big. At that time, they were all public companies. Park Lawn is private now, and it was clear to me that Park Lawn was going to be the right culture fit for me, and honestly, more importantly to me, our people.
Yeah.
And it was painful to me to leave. It was a little bit painful, but not too bad. That I didn't choose the highest bidder.
Good for you, man.
But I had to say to John Schmitz, put me in, Coach. I need to talk to Brad Green, who at that time was the CEO. Jennifer Hayes, the CEO now of Park Lawn, and I called Brad, and just spoke from my heart, and just told him, we want to be with you, but you need to do just a little better. And he said, "Can you give me a day?" Yeah, I can give you a day.
Give you an hour.
Yeah, I'm not as tough as Bailey.
I'll call you.
My people will be in touch.
I'm just a big softy. He's tough. And and it came back, and we go, okay, right. And I spoke to Jennifer McBride and Darren Forbes, and shared at least my perspective on this. And the fact was, I was the majority owner, so but it's important to me that we all be a part of this decision-making process. And they agreed, because it was important to them as well, especially Darren, who was going to stay with the company. Jennifer intended to retire, but Darren intended to stay with the company. It was important that he work for a company that he felt emulated his values. And so that's how we made that decision.
Wow.
Is there anything that you wish you would have asked for that you didn't?
Jimmy, I can't think of a single thing. I really can't. I did say to them, look, I'm 63. I'm ambulatory. I still have most of my mental faculties.
Did you forget you already told us you're ambulatory?
We need to talk.
I forgot. Sorry, that's the second time I've said
The
ambulatory.
nurse is here, John, to take you back.
Up the medication.
Have a move to call the question.
Thank you. And so I wanted to continue to be involved, and so they were nice enough to continue to hire me. And medical insurance was a thing, especially for my wife, and we have a son who needs medical care, and so they were kind enough to keep me employed, and they actually renewed my 5-year agreement just this last year. And I feel like I'm contributing. I'm helping on funerals. I'm meeting our young staff. We want our managers, Jacoby and Tiffany and Catherine, want me to sort of emulate what they call the Horan way, and so I love to work services with them. I share this philosophy with this group about catching people doing things right. And the more you catch them doing things right, the more it gives you latitude to take someone, and you catch them right in public, right? So everybody can hear. Right. But it gives me more latitude to take somebody off to the side and say, here's how we could have done that better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right? And does that make sense to you? And once in a while, someone does something and I go, well, that was really good. I wouldn't have thought of that. Good for you.
Probably got that from Bailey.
That's where all good ideas come from.
So, that part of it I still love. I love the part of helping on services and being with people and showing up, especially on high-profile services. I take all the line-of-duty deaths in Denver, and actually am involved probably in most line-of-duty deaths throughout the state of Colorado. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of things, if we had that situation today in Denver, I'd have to get on a plane and go home. Yeah. But I still love that part of it, and it was nice that they sort of made it possible for me to do pretty much whatever I wanted to do, and they trusted me to do it. It's like Gary said, those people exceeded your expectations. You didn't expect them to do all of those things, and yet they showed up, and that's what they did. Well, they did it because it makes them feel good to do it, and look, and it's the right thing for you to do to take care of them.
Absolutely right. And again, dovetailing on what Don. Hey, Don.
Your nurse is here too.
Don's on my board. I don't know his name.
They're roommates.
Something that if you're on the acquiring side, and I think a little bit what John's talking about, you need to be careful getting your pencil too sharp. So we've tried to pay fair prices to people we're acquiring because all these funeral directors know each other. And if the word gets out that you're difficult or you said X and then went and did Y, you're going to have that increases the amount you're going to have to overbid to do the next acquisition. You want them to talk to their friends and say, you know what, XYZ was great to work with, and I'm happy. You want the answer that John just gave you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Not those were the worst people. They lied to me, lied to my face, or whatever. And I've actually done deals where I've said, look, this is what we're willing to pay. You guys figure out where you want to allocate within the tax laws, obviously. But that first acquisition we did, the firm was owned by the husband and wife, and the real estate was owned by the husband and the brother. And they were going back and forth. They had one lawyer representing both of them, which I thought was, I told them it was a mistake, but I said, it's your family, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Is their cousin?
But I basically went to them and said, look, this is what we're willing to pay. You all within your group, you figure out how you want to allocate that, and we'll make the purchase price work that way, because it was a family dynamic, and you don't want to get in the middle of that as the acquiring side of it. Yeah. So I just think making sure you understand, and at least in this profession, even with the larger firms, Park Lawn bought you guys, they bought Bowie, and they bought Cress in a relatively short period of time.
Right.
If the word had gotten out that, Park Lawn's doing one thing and saying another, that's the end of the next transaction.
Yeah.
So just be very cognizant of the fact that everybody in this profession knows each other, and if you treat each other well, that will get out almost as fast as if you treat them poorly.
Yes, definitely. Well, thanks. Yeah,
Duck and cover.
We're under attack.
I have to pause you for a second while that jet flies over.
John Horan is here.
Oh, yes.
That's very nice of the Directors Investment Group
Sorry.
to send me home
Sorry.
Yeah, so
in a jet.
I wonder if that's Passari 1 or Passari 2.
Oh, yes, indeed.
John, after reflecting on your journey throughout your career, building a business from scratch, having a successful transition, hopping back in, what are some of the insights just kind of in the big picture you'd just like to share with the group? What kind of encouragement can you give them?
Surround yourself with great people. Number one, just surround yourself with great people.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Present company excluded.
Honestly. The people you work with, and the people that deal with, if you're going to hire consultants, hire smart consultants who get this and understand what your motivations are. I didn't want a consultant to just go out and get me the highest dollar. It was very important to me. And I spent some time with the company, and I learned a little bit about others that have sold to that company, and make sure that it's the right fit.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what I've learned, what I've taken away.
Well, thanks, John. I think that's some great advice. And you can't go wrong surrounding yourself with great people, can you?
No.
Thank you for what you do for funeral service. Thank you for taking my call often when I have crazy questions.
You're a brother to me. You're my brother.
I appreciate that.
Always. Absolutely.
You're a mentor to me.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, I just want to say this, man. I really am sad that this episode's over. This was a lot of fun, and we covered a lot of ground. I think it's a topic I think we're going to have to revisit as a group. There's a lot of people looking to figure out what to do with the next generation of their business. So we'll circle back to this, I'm sure.
Call John. He'll buy anything.
You need some places in Arkansas.
Yeah. But I want to say this, so we do appreciate our listeners devoting their time to this subject and to this podcast, and we're grateful for them. Without listeners, we don't have a very good podcast and not a lot to say, so thanks for that. Again, feedback, thegraveyardshift@passari.com. Your thoughts, your questions, your input, your ideas for future episodes, anything you can do to give us a hand. Lord knows we need the help.
Yes.
And remember this, don't keep us a secret, and we really want you to share this with other people in the profession who could benefit from it. And again, as we always say to close it out, take what you learned today and go do something about it.
Absolutely.
So long, and we'll visit again soon.
Adios.
Adios.